For the Ag Economics Research Update, we are pleased to have our next speaker, Dr. Courtney Burr, who is an assistant professor in OSU Agricultural Economics, focusing on farm management and agricultural finance. Courtney's going to tell us a little bit about her focus areas. So please, and the department overview. So please give Courtney a warm welcome this morning.
There we go. I feel a little crackly, some of these things. I was challenged with something kind of difficult this morning, and that was going over all of the great research that our department has been doing. So this will be a really, really brief overview. I know some of the faculty are around, so you can always corner them later and ask them the hard questions. So I'm going to try and keep this surface level as I can. So I'm going to start with the general department overview, and then I'll go into a little bit of my background and the research and extension that I'm working on. So first of all, I group these people into different categories. So for example, we have the livestock industry group first. We have Dr. Shear. She is new to our department, so don't mind for a little bit different picture. She's working on cow-calf industry efficiency for management choices. And then we also have Dr. Lambert, who's working on merger acquisitions, behavior of CR4 meat packers. We have Dr. Norwood, who's looking at the understanding how U.S. beef imports are used. So he's doing more supply chain type stuff. We have Dr. Hagerman, who's looking at animal health, including avian influenza, foot and mouth disease, and policy impacts. There's a lot of folks working on livestock, so there'll be a couple livestock slides here. Dr. Peel is working on feedlot cattle death rates, effects of BRD, and rangeland productivity. We have Dr. DeVries working on impacts of cattle genetics on profitability. He's also working on optimal producer decision making, in particular surrounding breeding days and capsaicin use in beef cattle. So it's actually putting peppers in cattle feed. So that's very interesting. Dr. Borson is working on the economics of type 2 meat and genetic markers on cow-calf production. Saw him over in the corner earlier, so you might be able to catch him to talk about that. Dr. Schaefer is another new member of our faculty, and he's working on egg supply chains and global food trade. The other Dr. Lambert, Dr. Leisha Lambert, is working on environmental implications of beef discoloration. Dr. Riley is working on livestock markets and food waste. Dr. Raper is working on beef supply chains from consumers to the feedlot. She's also working on the influence of consumer perceptions and willingness to pay for production practices. This includes hormone use in meat, management practice adoption by cow-calf producers. So she's kind of taken the lead on our reoccurring cow-calf survey that happens. So she has a lot of great data to work with. I've grouped these people into rural issues. So of course we have Dr. Whitaker, who is focusing on rural broadband. He's a member of the Rural Broadband Expansion Council, and we'll be hearing from him a little bit later today about all the great work that he's doing. Dr. Hagerman is also working on the impact of ability to telework on rural employment rates. Dr. Farrell is working on farm estate planning and transitions. So farm stress and mental health is also something that he's doing a lot of programming around. And then Dr. Schaefer is also looking at farm labor and food in agriculture. So we also have some people that are working on natural resources. So both the Dr. Lamberts, Dr. David Lambert is working on water, carbon, and infrastructure resilience. Dr. Leisha Lambert is working on biofuel and bioeconomy, climate change effects on cropping patterns. In general, for crops, Dr. Holcomb is working on feedstock supply costs, cost estimation of crop burning machines. Roger Stobbs is working on custom weight data collection through USDA NAS. So he has a lot of things coming out about land values. Dr. Lambert is also working on risk analysis of rain-fed wheat, drought impact analysis, and then industrial hemp. Dr. Hagerman is also working on policy impacts related to industrial hemp. A lot of our faculty are working together on these problems, and that's why you see a lot of repeats across faculty. Those are actually really great collaborations that are happening in our department. Dr. Vitale is working on the economics and management practices of red winter wheat. So for general markets, cooperatives, and finance, we have Dr. Pinkel working on investigating cooperative grain market alliances. He's focused on cost savings, price basis, and transportation efficiency. Dr. Chung is working on measuring market power, concentration and captive supplies, integration, and market power versus efficiency. Dr. Lansford is working on updating bank simulator game. So those of you that are in finance are probably familiar with that program that he has, and so we're actually working together on updating some of those coefficients for the graduate student. There's also a lot of people working on COVID impacts in general. So obviously, COVID has changed a lot of things. Dr. Norwood is working on measuring food insecurity caused by COVID. Dr. Peel is working on small-scale meat processing. Dr. Holcomb is also working on small-scale meat processing, impact of COVID on the food industry in general. And Dr. Schaefer is working on the economics of vaccine lotteries, COVID-19, morbidity, mortality amongst U.S. meat packing counties. That was a very fast overview of the department research. I'm also going to go into a little bit more detail about my research and extension programs that I do. So a little bit about myself. I actually started in this position right before the pandemic. So I started in January before COVID hit. So a lot of you probably know me through Zoom, through Summit, through other virtual things that we were lucky enough to have to kind of stay in contact during these kind of difficult times. I'm now released out into the wild. So I had my first in-person conference at the Women in Ag conference back in August. So I am an assistant professor in ag economics at Oklahoma State. Obviously, I work in farm management and agricultural finance. So my position is 75% extension, 25% research. Kind of my educational past, I graduated with a PhD from Purdue University, and I'm a three-time alum of Oklahoma State. So I actually have 2 bachelor's degrees, one in agribusiness and one in animal science, and I have a master's degree from Untitled. So my research in general is very applied. So I really look for research programs and research problems that I can use in my extension program. So in general, I look at producer decision making. Recently, that means a lot of producer decision making. I also look at small scale agriculture. So a lot of our county educators have been working with people on small scale ag, so people that maybe have 5 to 10 acres, people who want to devote some of their land to diversified agriculture. And so I've been looking into those areas as well. I also look at consumer understanding of production practices, as well as willingness to pay. And then I'm trying to do the calculations to figure out, all right, the consumer says they want this, they say they're willing to pay this much for it. Can we do that? Can we actually implement that change as a producer? And then, of course, like everyone else, COVID impacts have been a big part of my program recently. So I've been looking at changes in food consumption, that shift from cooking it, going out to eat to cooking at home, small scale slaughter. I've been writing some grants to try and get some more programming surrounding direct consumer meat sales for producers. And then, of course, how the consumer behavior pieces will change. My more academic pursuits are looking at better ways to elicit preferences, whether that's trying to understand what producers are saying they do, trying to understand what consumers are saying they want. It kind of becomes a data quality collection issue. So that's kind of my more academic angle. What is he talking about this time? So one of my bigger projects is actually a little bit more linked to extension. Dr. Lambert, that's worse. that's way worse. Much worse. Okay. So the Burn Financial Planning is really more of an extension program that will lead into research. So it's collaborative grant through the FBB program with USDA. It's including University of Minnesota as kind of the flagship school, and there are more and more universities getting involved in this program, including Texas A&M, Utah. We are representative for Oklahoma. We use a software called FinPack. That's not necessarily important. The important part is that we can help producers with annual financial analysis, financial long-range planning, monthly cash flow planning, and annual cash flow planning. And so we actually have 11 state, area, and county extension educators that have been trained in this financial analysis. Some of them are in the room, which is really exciting to see. So far, we've had 39 farmers and ranchers reach out to be part of this program. I'm bringing this up because I know all of you in the room at least know a few farmers and ranchers. And we're just trying to get the word out on this program because I think it would be really helpful for everyone. So the end goal is to have benchmarking data through FinPack. So something that is a little bit challenging about this job is people will call me and they will say, okay, I'm thinking about starting a cow calf operation. What are the average costs for a producer with 50 cows? I don't know. If I was in North Dakota, I could give you a number instantly. They know because they have this benchmarking program in place. And so that's kind of the end goal, is to help producers make better decisions, knowing what Oklahoma production looks like. Right now, I have to tell producers, I can tell you North Dakota's numbers, South Dakota's numbers, Minnesota's numbers. Will it look like ours? Absolutely not. And we also do crops. Right now, we aren't limiting it to any certain type of production. One of the keys is that we need to have 40 completed financial plans of the same kind to do the benchmarking. And that really has to do with data security and making sure that that data remains anonymous. And so I would have to have 40 cow calf producers, 40 wheat producers, 40 soybean producers to be able to benchmark over that data. I'm trying not to get discouraged because we can also include Texas's data, because parts of Texas are similar enough that would still be valuable for our farmers and ranchers. So we can hopefully get benchmarking data a little bit sooner than we expect. This will help farmers and ranchers be prepared for winter meetings. I know a lot of you in the audience are in kind of the finance fields. It would be really great if producers would show up when they're looking for a loan with completed beginning and ending balance sheets and all of their financial ratios calculated. And then that would help you, have a starting place. And so that's the goal for this, is to send farmers and ranchers home with that information. And this program actually has been approved for FSA borrower training. Right now, the program is free for people who just want to do it for their own purposes. If you're involved in the FSA borrower training, we do have to charge for that, and it's $150, which is pretty much the set fee for most of those FSA borrower training programs. This is a QR code. You can just hover over it, and it brings you to the web page for this program. If you're interested, or like flyers for your office, please feel free to email me, and we can get those out to you. So I also said that I look at producer decision making. So this is just a couple of examples of recently published pieces that I've completed. So I have a publication with Dr. Keel and a graduate student, Kayla Hines. There's also a fact sheet and other extension outputs from this work. And we looked at the possibility of raising goats alongside cattle to control red cedar and provide another revenue stream. And so what we found is that adding a breeding goat enterprise increased NPV when compared to a stacker goat enterprise or just chemical control. The important part to note here is that you're still including a rotational patch burning in this. And this will be ongoing work. So this is a real experiment happening over at the rangelands experiment station, and that'll provide better data for us to include in this model. Right now, we kind of make a lot of assumptions, but it's a good start. I've also been looking at early season calving dates. This is a publication in process. We're about to submit it for review. It has some expertise, Dr. Wallman over in animal science and a graduate student, Anita Upton. There's also a fact sheet and other extension outputs that are coming. We looked at the implications of calving date on expected annualized return per head. So if all of you remember last winter, how horrible it was, and everywhere on the news, people were talking about how they had to put their calves in their car and truck and drive around, and it was horrible, and there was snow everywhere, and the veterinarians were exhausted, which I'm sure they were, they're always exhausted. And so we thought, this is interesting, let's look at this. Like, why are people choosing to calve in these really winter months where we might end up having more and more chance of severe weather? And so what we thought about was how early calving with increasingly cold winters in January may lead to more veterinary costs, higher death loss, and increased feed costs. And so we did a survey of producers and veterinarians as well as a simulated program. And so we basically had a simulated cow herd fed in the information that we got from real producers and real veterinarians. And we found that calving in mid-March resulted in the highest annualized returns per head. And guess what? That's what most producers were doing. So this was a great case where producers had already found the economic optimum. So great for them. We did find that there was variation from profit max, often due to labor constraints. So if people weren't calving in March, it wasn't because they didn't want to. It's because they had off-time jobs, they had other enterprises, they just had other issues going on their farm that prevented them from having that optimum calving date. So we're also looking at smaller scale production and beginning farmer and rancher. So I am part of this ongoing coalition of beginning farmer and rancher programs. It's in collaboration with the NRCS, OSU, ODAC, Langston, ONIE, Cattlemen's Foundation, the Department of Veterans Affairs, and we're putting on multiple workshops throughout the state, and we're also updating and creating supporting extension documents. So Dr. Boyd left us a really great legacy of extension documents, and some of them just needed some updating. So for example, there's a 40-page beginning farmer and rancher document that myself, Roger Saws, Dr. Haberman, all worked together to update recently for this program. We're also building out simple budgets for unique agriculture. So I've had some area extension economists and some county people reach out to me looking for very simple budgets on paper as well as in Excel to kind of help ease the burden of when people come to their office and they ask about less traditional agriculture, right? So we're talking about hops, backyard chickens, small scale poultry, and bees. The bee side of things kind of took a life of its own. Bees are livestock by the USDA. Bees actually qualify for the same risk programs that other crops qualify for. And we didn't have a ton of support for beekeepers. And so I started looking into this. I'm working with Justin Talley over in entomology and JJ Jones, the area economist. And we're working on getting together documentation for beekeepers, just like we have for livestock, other livestock, including goats and cattle and those sorts of things. Our website actually just launched last week. And so the very first fact sheet that we have is providing a budget for beekeepers, as well as kind of going through how to register your hives, that you have to be registered with the state to receive any kind of help through the FSA, and those sorts of things. So this website is now live, which is pretty exciting. We also have an ongoing analysis on medium scale poultry production versus quail production. So as we know, taste and preferences are changing, especially as there are more and more ethnic communities that eat different things, right? And so it became very interesting to me to look into quail production and how that differs from poultry production and which one is more profitable given marketing constraints and things like that. I'm also looking at agritourism. So common cut flowers. So looking at the profitability of that, pumpkin patches, the economics of additional on-farm winery products. So in general, how do we diversify these farms that have very tight margins as taste and preferences change, as the farmer themselves change, right? So we're just kind of looking at that diversification piece. And then of course, I'm still looking at different ways to elicit preferences and make sure that data that I'm using in all this great analysis is quality. So this is kind of a little bit more on the academic side, but looking at new methodologies for choice experiments and making it faster and easier for you all when you're having to take these surveys to give us that information. And then I'm also looking at using social media and online data scraping for different aspects of agriculture. So Dr. Michelle Lambert and I have already looked at water quality and looking at online preferences and data scraping for that. I've recently looked at impacts of natural disasters. So you hear a lot of people when there's these great fires, when there's hurricanes, when there's floods, they like to say on social media, thoughts and prayers, maybe they donate. But the problem is that donations are off whenever it gets time to actually rebuild. So when these communities that have been hit by these things go to rebuild, no one online is talking about it anymore. Everyone likes to talk about the hurricanes leading up. Everyone likes to talk about the fires when they're happening. When those communities go to rebuild, that support's not there. And then looking at food safety, it was kind of interesting for me. We talk about food recalls a lot, but that original announcement that the USDA makes saying we're looking into this product is actually when everyone online starts to talk about it. And so as agricultural producers, that's important for us to know. We need to get out there and do damage control way before your product's actually recalled. That damage control needs to happen at the very first rumblings of people looking into your product. So I know that was a lot of information really quickly, but I'd like to try and keep this on time. If you have any questions, feel free to email me. The QR code is in the packet if you'd like to look at the website